All right, students, today we're going to be talking about anger and how anger can affect us inside these relationships and what it is that we need to do to be able to recognize that anger and help us take steps to control ourselves. So first we're going to talk about some stuff that's called hot buttons. Does anybody know what a hot button is? Anybody heard that before? Some of you are nodding, some of you are not sure. Nubia, can you tell us what it is?
Yeah, things that just are going to trigger you or get you really upset.
Absolutely. So hot buttons are things that make you feel angry, things that make you feel annoyed or frustrating. Me, for example, is traffic. I hate traffic. Traffic makes me angry. So we're going to go through and we're going to talk about a few hot buttons that you might recognize that you have in your life. And then we're going to talk about maybe things in a relationship that could be a hot button. So tell me a hot button you have.
When your parents say no.
Okay. When you get told no. Thank you. What else?
Rude people.
People being rude. Definitely. Anybody else?
Dirty dishes.
Oh, I hate dirty dishes. And when people don't clean up their dishes. I've had roommates before that don't clean up their dishes. It's not very fun. Anything else?
Homework.
Homework. Absolutely. So it's important as we're going through and we're talking about this that we recognize what our hot buttons are so that we can say, you know what, this is something that I know is going to help me make me feel frustrated. It's going to make me feel upset. And so those can be different things. So when we were talking here, we were talking about maybe things that happen that are a little bit outside of our control. And if we take this and we start talking about it maybe in a relationship, things that we don't like, things that might make us feel upset, we just need to be able to recognize that those things might make us feel frustrated and being able to recognize what it is that we need to do to be able to control those frustrations. So we're going to move on a little bit about how our body reacts when we feel angry. So what happens to you when you feel angry? You guys can just shout it out and I'll write it up here on the board.
You get tense.
You get tense, so your muscles tense up.
You get hot.
Yes.
Your stomach might hurt.
That's good. Anything else?
Turn red.
Yeah, you turn red. Nubia, were you going to say something?
You grind your teeth.
Oh, yeah.
You might start crying.
Does anybody clench their fists when they get angry? You might recognize that that's something that's happening. Or if your stomach hurts, I always get butterflies in my stomach. That makes me feel really uncomfortable. And I don't really like contention, so when somebody's getting angry with me or they're feeling upset, I start to get red and and sometimes I'll shake because I'm so frustrated and I'm trying to control what's going on. And it's a really uncomfortable situation for me. So when I start to feel that inside my body, I know that I feel uncomfortable. And that's the important cue for me. That's a physical cue. That's a body reaction to let me know I'm feeling angry, something's happening to me that's making me feel uncomfortable right now. And so that's a cue for me to say, I need to be able to take some steps to make sure that I can calm myself down. So our next step that we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about ways that we can calm ourselves down. So has anybody ever heard of a way that you can calm yourself down?
Counting.
Counting, that's a great one. So we can I've always heard count to 5 or count to 10 or something like that that'll help you calm down. Thank you. Anybody else?
Deep breath.
Yeah, I actually really like this one. I took a class once and I found out that if you take a deep breath in through your nose, there's an actual physiological response in your nose. There's receptors that physiologically helps calm you down. So that's a great one. Thank you. Anybody else?
Walk away.
Walking away. So I think this is a really important part to recognize is that sometimes when we are angry and some of these things don't work, or the person that we're talking to won't let us calm down. They keep pushing our hot buttons. They keep saying things that make us feel upset. So sometimes you just have to walk away. And I've had that happen to me before too. Actually, just recently I had it happen to me when I had somebody on the phone that wasn't talking to me very nice, and I had to give the phone to my supervisor because it was making me feel very upset. And so sometimes you just have to walk away, and it happens to adults just as much as it happens to you as teenagers. So it's important to recognize those. So thank you for coming to class today, and we'll continue our conversation next time. All right, so when presenting in section 7, I've got a couple points that I think could be helpful in this topic. So a couple things that I like to bring up during this discussion is social media. Social media isn't mentioned very much in Safe Dates, but it is a huge part of the lives of our children and our teenagers. So I like to bring up the points about how we can talk about conflict inside social media. We do have some bullying that happens inside social media. And a lot of our conversations that happen in our dating relationships are happening through social media. So we've got Snapchat, we've got Tumblr, we've got all of these different various points that need to be brought up, and sexting that can definitely be talked about, and how that can be a sign of an unhealthy relationship and something that can get out of control quickly. So make sure you bring up those points to help the teens understand, you know, I should think twice about doing this, or maybe I can't read their tone when I'm doing this, and maybe having those important conversations or those heated conversations, at least talking on the phone or face-to-face might be a better way, as long as they're in a safe situation. Obviously, we always want to make sure that our students are in a safe situation. Another thing that we really like to do at Centro Hispano is having a second facilitator. This is really helpful. So Abraham and I, or me and one of my other coworkers, usually present together, because this can have the male-female roles so that you can offer it to both students so that they can see that there are males and females that feel strongly about having a healthy relationship. And for anybody that might have an unhealthy relationship with one gender or another, it can also show, hey, you know, Abraham and Cassidy, they're able to present together. We can emulate a healthy relationship, kind of give them an example of that we can work together and that we like each other, and that that's okay. And then it's also great because if we're teaching boys, then Abraham can come in and say, you know, me as a male, this is how I feel about it. Or for me, I can talk to the girls the same way and say, me as a female, this is how I feel about it. And that we can emulate both of that back and forth and have a good conversation with both genders in our classroom. And then on that note of talking about genders, it's also very important that we recognize that there are non-conforming genders that are available. That we need to make sure we're using the language that's available to us to make sure that everyone is feeling safe in the situations that we're talking about. We do have people that like same-gender relationships and that identify in the LGBTQ scale. So we need to make sure that we are using words and using things like dating partner, or understanding that people may not conform to Utah society and what that means. So be sensitive of those things. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in section 8. Then we also do have some teens that have unhealthy relationships in their home. Their older siblings or their younger siblings might be in an unhealthy dating relationship. Their parents or their aunts and uncles, grandparents could definitely have been showing them an unhealthy relationship. So we want to make sure that we aren't saying things that are going to make teens feel defensive about their family, because they obviously love their family. We want to make sure that they feel like they can still love their family, that their family aren't bad people. And so in the classes before, I've gotten people that have said like, hey, my mom does that. And so a great way to handle those kinds of situations is saying, okay, well, how do you feel when your mom does that? And let the teen take the conversation where it needs to go, because teens are regularly told what to do and how to act, and that's really not what we want to do, because that kind of shuts them down. So if you just ask the right questions through some motivational interviewing, you can help the teens understand, okay, I don't have to live that way, and I can still love my mom even though my mom's not perfect, because we want to encourage healthy relationships in our home life just as much in our dating relationships life. So one book that I think is absolutely fantastic that really helps with maybe some motivational interviewing is the book by Dale Carnegie called How to Win Friends and Influence People. I highly recommend the book. You can download the audiobook, just listen to it. It's got some great points on how to ask the right questions to help people understand the correct way of thinking, which is what we want to do, but we definitely don't want to force that on them either, and let them come up with the ideas on their own, what makes them feel safe and what makes them feel happy. And then Safe Dates is full of lots of really good content, but some of it's a little bit heavier on the lecture side. So anything that you can do that can make it more of an activity instead of a lecture is very, very helpful, because the teens have been in school all day, or they're used to being in school and they're used to sitting down and tuning out because they maybe not value what it is that you want to talk to them about. So don't be afraid to change up the activities a little bit. And if you have any questions, Nubia and Megan are some great resources, and you can talk to them a little bit farther about how to do stuff like that. And then if you do have any questions, I'd be more than happy to receive any emails, or I'm also part of the Facebook group page. But my email is CassidyB, so it's CassidyB as in boy, @centrohispanouc.org.